Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Sarah here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Tanner, and he's selling his Amazon FBA and e-commerce business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Welcome to the show, Tanner. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, good to have you here. Definitely looking forward to talking a bit more about your business. Before we dive in, though, let's go over a brief summary of the business. So this is an Amazon FBA business in the tobacco accessories niche, created in May 2015. The average monthly revenue of this business is $27,145, and it has an average of $7,372 per month in net profit, and that is based on a 12-month pricing period. Included in the sale of this business are Amazon Seller Central account and 20 SKUs, domain and all site content and files, email list, trademark, social media accounts, and supplier contract and relationships. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47491 to learn more about the business or to unlock the listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing. Now that I've given a general overview of the business, let's dig into the interview. So Tanner, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, so the background is really just I started the business with a friend of mine. I was actually in medical school and I was just absolutely dreading waking up every morning. And I knew there had to be a better way to make a living that didn't require me to get up at 4 a.m, be gone until 10 p.m., and then do it all over again the next day, every day of the week. So my friend, his marriage kind of fell apart, and he went on a trip to Italy where he's from, and he ended up falling in love with his first love. They disconnected over 30 years, and then he just decided to go back to Italy because that's where he was from, and it just so happened to reconnect. So he did that, then he came back from the trip, and he just started selling everything that he had in his house on eBay. And he kept telling me about all the sales that he was generating on eBay. And I knew there had to be a better way to do this where you didn't have to create the listing for an item every time you tried to sell it. So it was basically just trying to take his eBay experience and mass produce it on a much larger scale.
That's such a cool story. I love that. Gosh, 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's pretty brutal. Hope you managed to get out of that. Well, so you wanted to take this on a greater scale. That's pretty cool. So what led you to FBA in particular, and why did you find that FBA and Shopify, those were really good outlets for you?
Well, it just so happens that I had tried to do Amazon FBA before he had this experience. I want to say this is back in 2014, 2015. I mean, I came across FBA when I was looking for, online, how to generate passive income, which, everyone thinks is great, but it doesn't really exist. But I tried it and I ended up ordering 100 flash drives from China, and the quality of these things was questionable. And half of them were defective. So I tried it initially and I gave up. And then my buddy, he started selling on eBay, and that's when I was like, whoa, I got to figure this back out. And I want to say that was a time around all of the Amazon FBA podcasts and gurus and all that stuff. So once they started popping up, FBA once again became a main topic for business. And so that's kind of how I got back into it again after the first failed attempt.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Well, so you got an interesting niche here. What led you to choose the tobacco accessories niche for this business?
That's a great question. I know a lot of people think it's a bit not ideal, but that's exactly why we chose it, because we wanted something where you could come in, you could brand it well, and then you could compete at a high level without a lot of competition from a lot of big money competitors.
Yeah. It's interesting because I do talk to some sellers who are in this niche, and it does seem to be like a competitive advantage if you know what you're doing, of course, like you said.
Right.
And it's growing. It's one of those things are growing and changing, and it's good to be in at the right time. So then that kind of leads me to my next question then. You've got this business and it's in a good place, but why are you selling the business instead of say keeping it and growing it?
That's a great question. I've been doing it for 5 years. I don't have the best setup to run it just because I have a tiny apartment. If I had something bigger, it wouldn't be a problem. But at the same time, it's been 5 years. I'm ready to move on to something else. I have other things I want to do. And just the day-to-day running it isn't bad. It's just somebody else could come in, do more things, and they could really grow it into something much bigger really easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so your note there about your apartment, I think it's good to dig into this a little bit more. Tell me, you have some hand in receiving inventory and inspecting it before it goes to Amazon and Shopify. So can you walk me through that? What your kind of role is and what you're doing and what Amazon's doing, kind of how you split your work up that way?
Right. Okay. So I've been going to school for the last few years, and I just recently finished that whole process. It's something fun, something that I want to do more. So I've been living next to the school in this tiny apartment. I want to say it's probably no more than 360 square feet. And there's plenty of space here. Basically, the way the business the receiving and shipping inventory works is that my agent in China, I'll send him what I need for the next few months, proper inventory planning depending on what time of the year it is. And then once he does that, he'll ship it to me. I have a friend who has a house, and so he ships it there. I receive the inventory there in his garage, and then I move it all out in the same day. I have a few storage units where the extras go, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff in the storage unit is personal stuff that I just don't have room to store in my little tiny apartment. But most of it goes to Amazon right away. I'm pretty sure that there's a way where you could just automate most of that process and just have him ship directly to FBA from China, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But yeah, most of the inventory goes straight to Amazon. A very little amount comes with me to my apartment, and it takes up, maybe 6 square feet of floor space.
Okay. Yeah, because you're saying, I have it here, it's 90% of your inventory is FBA. So really most of the stuff is all kind of hands off for you. There's just a small amount that's, going through your hands. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And most of the things that do go through my hands, it's all pretty small, but most things that do come here are even smaller.
So let's talk about the breakdown of this business, because you've got about 75% of the business FBA, and then remaining sales coming from Shopify, maybe about 25%. Can you walk me through that? How this business is divided up, and are there any other ways that this business is making money that I might be missing?
No, I believe that's about it. We tried to sell on Jet for a while, but Jet had a big launch and then it fizzled out really quickly. We've been trying to get on Amazon, emailed them about 6 months ago, and they finally just got back to us right before we started the process of selling the business. So that's always an extra option too. But you're right. Most of the business just comes organically from Amazon. Mm-hmm. But the beautiful part about this business is that while most people with FBA businesses specifically refer to it as an Amazon business, we've been doing our best to branch out from Amazon and to just have a standalone brand and be on Shopify and have our own e-commerce platform and our own customers instead of just using someone else's base of customers.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like the business is pretty well poised to not necessarily depend on Amazon, but, launch in its own direction and do its own thing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So would you say there's anything you learned from this business that you'd apply to future sites or businesses? Did you find something from running this business that just seemed to really work for you?
That's a great question. I think just doing it was probably the most important thing, and not getting caught up with trying to learn everything you can. You learn so much more when you actually have the problem in front of you that you have to fix or take care of or manage or solve than just thinking about all these other things. And so there's so much more to do than you think there is. And you really can't know what it is that you need to know what you're doing until you actually end up doing it.
Yeah, I think that's solid advice. And I tend to hear that from a lot of sellers. It's like the act of doing it, not getting analysis paralysis, I guess, as they call it. That's cool. So, would you say there's anything that you tried that didn't work while running this business?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot that I did that didn't work, but nothing off the top of my head that's coming to me right away. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but
No, it's not a bad thing. I think it's like it's hit and miss whether some people can identify what happened that didn't work or, vice versa. So,
well, I guess there is one thing that just came to me over this holiday period. I wasn't really watching the ad spend on Amazon a whole lot, and so we non-converting ads go out that cost quite a bit of money. But what are you gonna do?
yeah. No, that's definitely one that I tend to hear about a lot and very easy to do when having an FBA business for sure. So would you say there's any advice that you'd wish you'd known when you gotten started and, maybe a little nugget of wisdom that might help other people trying to get into this space?
That's a hard one. There's a lot of skills that you're going to learn, basically. I think that's what I'm going to have to go with. Get ready to learn.
Get ready to learn in action while just doing it. That sounds about right. That's okay. That's pretty cool. So where does the majority of your traffic come from? And what are you currently doing in terms of marketing for the business?
That's a great question. As far as I know, it just all comes organically from Amazon. I haven't really done a whole lot with it recently. As far as marketing, it is also probably going to touch on one of the previous questions you asked about Shopify and Amazon. But most of our Shopify sales are from actually marketing, but not in a way that we spend money, but just in a way of doing other things. For example, we have a few products on our Shopify store that aren't on Amazon because they're not allowed to be on Amazon, but they're really popular and very good products in our niche that a lot of people just absolutely love. And so initially when we came up with these products, we didn't know if they were going to be successful. We're they could be, but then again, who knows? But they were so cheap to produce. And we were you know what? If they work, it works. And if they don't, that's what we're going to spend our marketing money on, making this new product. And then instead of actually producing ads or selling ads or marketing, we're just going to promote this and see how it goes. And we have a small following, but it's a pretty loyal following for some of these accessories that we're producing. And I think that's probably the best marketing expense I've ever done. But then again, I'm not one who really enjoys ads, and so producing ads and making ads when I don't like looking at them to begin with isn't really something that's my idea of a good time.
No, that makes sense. We all have our things. And who knows, I think for an interested buyer, maybe that's something that they're into and something that they could really take it and run with it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. If you were to keep this business, what are some ways that you would try to grow it?
Sales to businesses. Somebody is so interested on taking on that massive duty or is just completely interested in sales, you could easily multiply the sales. Not quickly, but over a year or two of just selling to other businesses, you could make it very nice.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Would you say that there's any risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
I don't think so. Not anything more than the typical risk associated with selling on Amazon.
Okay. Can you tell me, a little bit more about the amount and type of work you do on this business for maintenance?
Yeah, it really just depends on the day. Most days, nothing, which is nice and not nice at the same time. Other days, there's orders from Shopify that need to be shipped. Other days I get bored, so I send out an email that generates some sales so I have something to do. But yeah, that's about all. Most of the work really comes down to making, when you decide to release a new product and coming up with that, researching that, getting all the samples and producing it, and then receiving the inventory and building out the listing. But yeah, like I said in the beginning, once you have the listing and all the photos done, it's really just keep things in stock. And that's about it as far as what I'm doing. The only real work that it's required is when you receive an inventory shipment. And even then, I don't know, it probably takes 7 hours to do that. But at the same time, that's because I received the inventory in my friend's garage and I have to wait for UPS to come and deliver. And then I have a little tiny sedan. And so I, moving 30 to 40 large boxes in my sedan takes a few trips, but nothing too crazy.
All right. Well, you actually had a good note there. You mentioned sending out emails. You've got like a small email list here, but it sounds like you're able to send things out to them and generate sales. Can you tell me a bit more about this email list and, I guess what the potential is for a buyer who might want to monetize it?
Well, it's an email list, and so that's always a good thing to have. I'm not sure how many people on it. I want to say a few thousand. But, it's just an extra sales funnel to have. I don't like to use it too much because I personally hate to receive emails. So most of the time we just use it to be like, hey, we've got a new product. Hey, here's a sale. Things of that nature.
Yeah. Okay. Still a very good thing to have and, a value add for this business in particular. Would you say there's any skills or requirements for someone not familiar with this niche or business model?
Not necessarily because of the niche, but just in general for like running a business, there's probably skills that you should have. You can always learn them on the job.
Yeah. Kind of doing it live, you were saying before, just being on the job and making it happen and learning as you go along. So I have a few little, wrap up questions here. How much support are you offering buyers?
That really depends on the buyer. I would love to see the business be successful and someone who is excited to do it. But at the same time, if they're sending me an email about every little question they have, that gets sold quickly. But I'm pretty open to supporting whoever decides to purchase it.
Okay. Would you commit to a non-compete?
Absolutely.
Cool. Are you open to something like an earn-out?
Possibly. I think it'll depend on the percentage and some other factors, but it's, always open to ideas.
All right. Is there anyone who inspired you while building this business that our listeners might like as well? So that could be podcasts that really helped you learn this business, Facebook groups, YouTubers, etc. Just anyone that might help our listeners?
There's a lot of good resources on the internet, and I wouldn't pay for anything to learn. So if you have to pay to learn something, it's probably not worth your time in regards to learning how to do an Amazon business.
Okay, it's good to know. Would you say there's any software tools that helped you while running this business that might be handy for others?
I used a few different software tools to gauge sales initially a few years ago. I haven't used them in the last few years, so I don't feel like recommending them. But there's a lot of tools out there. I don't think you need most of them, especially in the current state of Amazon. The last one that I really used, or the last two, I guess, were Feedback Genius and TaxJar. But Feedback Genius, I think, is really not necessary for sending emails since Amazon continues to limit the amount of contact you can have with their customers. And as far as TaxJar goes, with Amazon starting to collect and remit sales tax to basically almost every state now, I think, or we're getting close to sending sales tax to every state, I don't think that you really need that subscription either.
Okay. What drove you and motivated you while having this business?
Yeah, so I guess before I went to this medical program, I worked at a grocery store for a few years between the ages of 16 and 18 because that was the only place I could get a job. And then as soon as I turned 18, I worked at this retail store selling only flip-flops. And working there was quite the experience. Through a whole sort of just disastrous situation, somehow I ended up being the, quote, assistant manager of the store, which is basically code for we're going to give you a slight raise and we're going to put you in charge of everything, but we're not going to pay you properly. We're not going to give you the proper manager training where we fly you out to Vegas and have you learn all the things about the franchise and stuff. And so just watching this flip-flop store go under slowly and having to deal with just the poor choices that they were making, it was just kind of man, I don't want to work for somebody.
Yeah, I think that's a good story. I hear quite a few of them talking to different sellers, whether it's I don't think I can work for someone else. I talked to someone recently who hated their internship so much that they went in and started their own online business and it worked out for them. But yeah, I think it's a great answer. Whatever it is that motivates you to do it, you just do it and make it happen.
Yeah, you got to know what you want, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad that you've arrived to this place where you've created this business and, created something else for yourself. Well, speaking of, if you were to put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
I think it has a lot of potential. It's hard for me because I'm just one person doing all of these other aspects. But if someone especially somebody, if they have a team of people to come in and to, if they have somebody who did advertising or somebody who did sales or a whole sales team, I think they could really, really increase the gross sales of having a B2B channel that's relatively large. We've done a few B2B sales, and every time we do a B2B sale, it just blows away all the individual sales of a single customer because they're buying in volume, and you have that reoccurring revenue that comes back. So I think that would be great. But on the other hand, if somebody just wants to add it to their portfolio of ways that they're making money, I think it's a pretty good business to just actively manage once a month when you have to receive inventory and send inventory out to Amazon.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Well, Tanner, I've asked you, most of my questions here. Was there anything that I might have missed along the way that you'd like to share?
I don't think so. I think you did a pretty good job.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time and, appreciate having you on. Definitely looking forward to seeing how everything plays out for you, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For everyone listening out there, thanks for tuning in. To check out more details on this business or to unlock the listing, visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47491. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. By unlocking the listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about the business and can start your due diligence. Until next time.